Oh boy, happy New Year's Eve 2025 Lollapalooza. If you're listening to this podcast, not only are we going to talk about our words from last year, but our years forward, we're actually here with some amazing people. If you listen to the Culture Matters podcast, you know Billy B, Bill Reiman, RK Reiman. You know Joe Silva. You know Jonathon Haddad. And you know, as of like episode 1045, finally, Jenna Silverman. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Jenna Silverman, the one, the only. She came on the show this week just so she could be on this because it's like Fight Club. You can't come on it unless you've been on the damn podcast. You can't participate.
I have such an advantage to this Lollapalooza because I know everybody that's on the show all the time. I
Joe,
get
meet Bill, Bill, Joe, Bill, Jonathan, Jonathan, Joe, Jonathan, Bill,
Joe,
Jonathan.
John, nice to meet you, man.
Same.
Joe, Bill, Joe, Bill,
Thank you
Jenna,
for
Jay.
coming. Jenna, help me out here. Take it
Have
from
I
me.
met Joe Silva ever?
I-
We did meet at Philly.
yeah, yeah,
Capital Girl.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I thought. Okay, cool.
In September.
Um, so hi everybody. This is a great group. First of all, I'm so excited right now. So okay, real quick, just to kind of dive into what this looks like for Lollapalooza that Jay has created. Words for 2025 and or goals if you didn't have a word, and word for 2026 and or goal if you don't have a word. So like could be a statement, could be a little paragraph, whatever. Let's start with you, Billy B.
Well, I was actually on here already at 9 a.m. and I think Jay just threw me on for the 8 p.m. and the 9 p.m. So I'm here to
He's
support.
like he's got a pregnant wife and a toddler. He's doing nothing tonight.
Yeah,
And
absolutely
Jonathan's
nothing at 8 p.m. at
Jonathan's in the
night.
same, I don't know if
So
he's not pregnant, but
I
tiny kid.
told Liz and she was like, "Again? You were just on this morning." But yeah, background you asked background and then word for the year, right, Jenna?
Word for
Recap.
2025 and or goal. Word for 2026 and or goal.
Word for 2025 was consistency. And I think I was very consistent in a lot of aspects of just general life. So what kind of turned me into my 2026 word, which is faith, is that I started thinking about it. I actually had a Bible study. I read this earlier too. I had a Bible study a couple days ago, and we were talking about faith and strengthening our faith going into the new year. And it's been a big thing to me to really deep dive into the Bible, get stronger, closer to God. And then this verse popped up this morning, 1 Kings 8:61. It said, "And may your hearts be fully committed to the Lord our God, to live by his decrees and obey his commands as at this time." So I was like, all right, the word's faith. That just said it right there. And another quote I read: "Without faith, fear decides; with faith, purpose leads." And that was a huge thing that stood out to me too, because my word from last year was consistency. But what's the point and the what is there? I mean, I can be as consistent as I want to be, but without faith, I have nothing.
Oh my God.
Right. So that's why this year I've kind of really, that's what I'm going to work on, is the faith aspect, diving deeper into the Bible, getting closer to God.
That makes me emotional. My word last year was faith because
Oh,
I
awesome.
um I felt like I wrestled a lot with God, and I still do. I think everybody does, right? But my relationship with God has strengthened. My relationship with prayer has strengthened. My word for 2026 is surrender.
Mm.
So, because I feel like I did accomplish so much in the faith part that now I need to let it go a little bit. Jonathan, I'm so excited you're here.
Hello. Yeah, my house is filled with people. So I'm upstairs in the room. I was like, yeah, it'll be good downstairs. I did a mic check, and I said, absolutely not. So we got a bunch of family running around. I cooked tacos today. We had a taco bar. I did a 10-hour brisket,
Wow.
which I might add, I cannot wait to have seconds of that 10-hour brisket today. So no, it's been awesome. Last year I had an acronym, ACTA, activity, consistency, training, and accountability was my big focus. Of those, like I want to sit here and tell you, yeah, I had 52 weeks planned out. I actually talked to Jay on our podcast about it, and didn't finish all the way through. So I don't want to jump on here and tell you that was it. What I did do though is I dove really heavy into accountability and accepting accountability as a man. One a big thing for me is I don't use the word struggle. I deal with a lot of mental health, and part of that is there. People say it's a burden to have responsibility as a man, and my whole thing is it's actually a blessing. And so coming into 2026, my word is strength. And there's this beautiful poem by Rudyard Kipling. And the poem is called If. It was written in 1895. I'm actually emailing my son about it, but it's about the responsibility of becoming a man and accepting it, and accepting that you need to lead. You need to lead by example. My faith is a big piece of it for me right now, Bill. So it was really cool you said that. And learning the Bible a lot more. I sent Jay a book I'm reading right now called Jerusalem. My family's very heavily deep in Jerusalem specifically, and just understanding more of the context and why there was so much trauma there, why there's so much war. But strength is my word coming into 2026. Taking on the blessing of responsibility, not the burden, accepting what's coming my way, accepting what's going to end up coming my son's way. And I have two daughters, but I believe we have just two different paths in lives as men and women, and not being afraid of the potential persecution that comes my way, not being afraid of anything. Just walking into rooms with a huge smile on my face, even though there's rooms where people don't always like you as much. And it's not about them liking you. It's just about you going in there and giving them every ounce of who you are and not being afraid and showing them the strength and what it takes. And lastly, I've been very heavily getting back into the gym and cutting off some of my other vices that I've had over the years and made excuses as to why they were vices for me, and getting that dopamine back from the gym and really focusing on my emotional regulation. So strength is my word. I'm sticking to it, and made me think long and hard about it. Jay sent multiple text messages making sure we're all prepared. So I was like, you know what? Let me make sure I'm taking the extra time here and really thinking it through. And I just posted about it the other day. So that's where I'm at, and I appreciate that.
I just want to give Jonathon some flowers for a second. I have gotten to become, so I've known Jonathon for two-ish years, but I feel like he and I became friends in 2025.
Yes, agreed.
And I have not seen, I will tell you this, and I will put this on the record for the Culture Matters podcast. I have never met someone who is stronger in will and in communication and in clarity than Jonathon Haddad. Seriously.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
And so strength, I think, is such a beautiful word for you because you're strong. And if that's your word, then that means like, fuck, 2026 doesn't stand a chance. Like,
well, you need strength
God
to
willing.
protect villages.
It's true.
You need strength to protect the village.
And
when I first saw that guy speak, you
yeah.
No, because it was that guy. I was in the audience,
Yeah.
And I was taking notes because I was observing. It was a client's event or something. I saw you speak. I'm like, who's the guy?
Yeah, it was the panel. Who
is this guy?
Association panel.
Yeah, that's right. I
The
saw you in the front row.
I'm like, is the bar so low or is he his legs so long?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. And by the way, Joe, I mean, I'll shut up. And then Jenna, sorry to take the wheel. I got overly excited.
Take the wheel.
that makes me emotional because if you guys haven't listened to Jonathon Haddad on the podcast, man, he's a force, and I recommend listening to the
I'm gonna drop his
three
keynote in
episodes.
the chat from June,
The
actually.
three
That's fun
episodes,
to hear.
just very, very inspiring. I always get inspired as someone that clearly has a lot of like me, clearly, a lot of a whirlwind of things going on in their head. It was, it's led to this, all of this. I just really admire you. So,
Mm.
Feelings mutual, brother. Thank you both.
Uh, sorry, I was looking for the Joe. Tell us what your goal word was for 2025, what your goal word is for 2026.
So
I
I wasn't
love that.
on.
I love that
Wasn't on
background.
last year. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So it's the new firm as of January, or excuse me, as of September. So thank you.
great.
So I wasn't on last year, so I thought about this and I said, what would be a word to recap? Now, first of all, I want to make some quick comments. So strength is a great word, I think, overall for everybody. I think in the environment we're in right now, regardless of what position you take, what side of the aisle you sit, is that you and Jay, with the Professor, oh my God, I can't believe his name right now. Uh,
Peter's
a weak man, right, is a useless man, right? You have to be strong in order to have the decision to be forceful, be strong, not strong, act or not act, right? Otherwise, you're just useless if you're weak, right? So going to the gym, Jonathan, you did mention, right? Strengthening even your faith, right? There's nothing, I mean, reading Proverbs, chapter once a day and is obviously a great lesson in life, right? Proverbs a great book, just a great handbook on life. I've stepped away from the church, not as in I stepped away, I don't believe. It's just that my path has deviated, right, as it can at different points in time. But at one point, I was deep in studying as well. And, when you read Job, when you go through the letters of Paul, you hear men who are strong, right? Who have really fought. And those are just illustrations. It's like it'd be like a bestseller in today's world, right? There's a lot of many men who are struggling on a day-to-day basis and have to make decisions on a day-to-day basis just to put food on the table, right? Just to have time with their children, but also do work. And that's so looking back, as I'm saying this word, this conversation here, my word for last year would be balance, right? And balance isn't 50-50. Balance is figuring out, and that's the hardest part. If it was 50-50, it'd be easy because you can say it's this much time for there and this much time for it's not, right? You need to figure out what things in your life, whether it be your emotional state, your faith, your family, your work, which ones need to have focus and emphasis and energy at that point in time, and then focus. And then in turn, you can't just blindly do it. Like you go to the gym, yeah, I'm going to the gym, it's great. You go to the gym 10 hours a day and neglect your family, that's not great, right? So there's balance, right? You have to figure that out. And so that for last year was hard because I had left my one firm, HBK, was in limbo for a bit, went with another firm that was a bookkeeping firm that just wasn't a right fit. We made a decision to mutually separate. And I was kind of like, well, let me do some consulting. And then Saks came along within weeks. So, but what I had was this faith that something was going to come, confidence that something would arrive. But again, the balance of also, hey, but what about the money coming into the accounts, right? What about how can I make sure everything gets taken care of? So balance would be my word for last year. So
love that.
coming into this year, it's a little different. Now the word is perspective because so events have changed. So I have this new job, but also for the first time since my separation, I've been separated from my wife technically, but my ex for 10 years. So we're not anywhere near come. It's just more of a technical thing that we're not officially divorced at this point. And really, it's because I've been paying. Just to be frank, I've supported that household almost 100% because it was the right thing to do. When I left, and I left for a reason because I was old school. Father's place in the house, husband's place in the house, man's place in the house. Till I realized that me being there, 1+1 wasn't equaling two, right? And I'm not blaming anybody, but just simply the combination of the factor wasn't allowing me to do the thing that I needed to be in life, my number one job, and that is to be a role model as a man, as a husband or partner, and um, as a dad, right? Because I was just trying to keep the peace, so I'm tucking my head. So I made a decision at that point, again, balance, to be out of the picture. But what that did was I had the perspective, long, call it a long game because it makes it sound like I'm game, but the long perspective, understanding that what am I ultimately trying to do? And it was just that, be that role model. So full circle now, 10 years later, my youngest just turned 15, made a decision, said, Dad, I want to live with you. I can't live here anymore, right? My oldest is 19. He's coming back from college. He was at Rowan for cybersecurity, but he's going to go local for cyber. And he said, Dad, I want to move in with you. It's okay. So at one moment I'm going, okay, I didn't have any. Now I was seeing them on a regular basis. So it wasn't like they were, absent from my life or I was absent from theirs, but I wasn't also day to day. Hey, boys, wake up, time for school. Hey, let me get you there on time. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd get the call. You missed the bus. Can you take them? So I was there, but it's different, right? You get to pick up on nuances that you don't get when you're not there on a day to day. So
Wow.
that's perspective. But now on the other side, my mother, who lives with me, has been in and out of rehab because she's in a hospital. She's older. She's a walker, so whenever she'd go to the hospital for high blood pressure or something else, she'd be off her feet and she'd have to go to the rehab to regain mobility, right? So it was this cycle that's happening. So this is the longest cycle where she's been in rehab, almost 6 months, almost 4th of July is when she went in. She's coming back out January to come back to the house. So now I have 3 people in the house that all, in some way, shape, or form, require my assistance, right? Require my either immediate, like intense at times, or just simply, hey, Dad, I need to get to practice. Hey, Dad, I need this. So, where that can make you lose your mind, if you have perspective, saying, look, time is short, right? In reality, the time is short. Everyone passes. My mother won't be here at some point in time, right? She's older. I won't be here at some point in time. And, you never like to say it, but your children won't be here at some point in time. Ideally, me long before them, of course. But the point is, for that amount of time that they're actually going to be with me and in my space is an extremely short amount of time, right? So this is where perspective comes in. Because then every time something happens, like my son just came down and said, hey, Dad, originally I said, what are we doing today? He's like, well, my oldest he's flying to actually Florida tomorrow to be with his friends. I said, okay, be safe. Give me a call when you get to the airport and when you land. That's fine. My youngest, I said, what are we doing? He said, well, nothing really. I guess we'll just hang out because my girlfriend's with her grandma. Okay, fine. So I'm getting ready to do all kinds of things like non-New Year's Eve related. I'm cleaning up. I'm getting things ready for them to be in the house, for my son to move in as well because my youngest is already here. My oldest is coming next week. He goes, Dad, can Deja come over, his girlfriend, and watch the ball drop? Now, again, I had already set like I'm just kind of lounging and doing my things. I said, took a deep breath, literally right before this call. I said, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, you got it. Come on over. Because again, right, the perspective. I'm not going to have that time. Well, it's John. I'm comfortable now, and I don't know. It's getting late, and la 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 la. Right now, come on over. So taking that deep breath and having that perspective allows me to weather those what would quote unquote be inconveniences, right? And understand, like I said, as I go down the road, and Bill, I envy you and Jonathan, possibly you as well, in that my boys are past that magic time, right? When Christmas is here and New Year, everything, the eyes are shining all the time. Everything's just great, and it's so. I miss that because now it's very matter of fact. It's okay. This, that, and the other thing, and so you understand how fast it goes, and so even the times now with that perspective, looking back, I'm going to say, well, their teenagers are right here, and now they're living their life, and Dad, I can't come by. So perspective has really kind of hammered me, with life being the teacher, right? And saying, there you are, and giving it really that heavy blow and saying, okay, well, now you have a choice. And we always have a choice. So perspective would be the word for 2026.
Perspective has hammered me with life being the teacher. I wrote, I'm gonna write that down.
So I've only been on these episodes since 5 o'clock today. So I've only been on like three-ish. But the amount of like correlations there are between every episode, it's so crazy. Like the episode at 5, or the last episode, we're talking about consistency. The one before that, we're talking about choices. Everybody is just like leaning into, it's just wild. It's divine. It's weird. Um, anyway, I just
Go
wanted to
on.
say that.
Oh, but before we go forward, I do want to give. I forgot to in the beginning pay respects to my co-host for the day, prior to my co-host for life. Mike Calhoun showed up. I call him at 4:45 a.m. What this is the story he's told all day, by the way, which isn't true, but it's funny. What do you mean, Jay? What are you talking about? Yeah, we've got podcasts all day. Oh, I'll be right there. Anyway, that's the story he told all day with a really deep voice. But he met me at 5 a.m. and we went all day till Bruni took him at 6, I think. 7? 7. So thank you, Mike. It's been really a special day. Bill, what what's something that you accomplished this year that you'd want to share with the 2 million people that are listening? Beyond that, the most important three outside of me, now I'm rhyming, Jonathan and Jenna and Joe. You feel like you really accomplished this year.
Yeah, man. I'd probably say the growth of our company overall has been unbelievable. Just the team that we have, the people that I surround myself with on a daily basis. Like I had another podcast today after the podcast with you, so this is my third podcast now. So, but I had my two superintendents on, and just listening to them, man, and hearing just their outlook on the future, the vision, the business, and leadership, and how they want to be leaders within the company, and they want it to grow, and they're just excited to be a part of it. Like that is what, like, on the business side makes me happier than anything, just because I know, on my end I'm doing a good job. But going into the perspective thing that Joe was talking about, I talk quite a bit just about that with my son and being present as a father as much as possible too. Because Joe, you're probably, I don't even know how many people have said the same thing. It, flies by, man. And it's like, he's 2 years old now. I was doing a post for Instagram. I'm looking at pictures from, like just last year he was crawling, now he's walking, now he's talking, and it's like that. And it's just insane, man. Like, so to hear you say that, I'm getting chills right now talking about it. Like, I forget his name, Jay, this morning. I brought it up to him. With the half cake.
Yeah,
Um,
Jim Sabelico. Yeah.
yeah, Jim. Yeah. So Jim talked about in his podcast with you, like, how he just wasn't there. He worked, and he thought that's what he had to do. And that's how I was raised. My dad was the same way. Like, my dad was always working. Like, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. And I agree to an extent, but there's still that time, like that hour that I have every night where I can get home and just be present and, play with them and put them to bed. And just have that little bit of time that I get throughout the day, because I'm gone all day long too. And he was talking about like the half birthday cake. That was what opened up his eyes. Like that put it into whole perspective. Like he's there celebrating, singing happy birthday over half a birthday cake because he missed the birthday party,
Yeah.
and that changed everything like that. And it's like, you think about these things, the time, the perspective, man. Like I think I've done a good job at being a dad thanks to people like yourself and Joe and Jonathan. I think I don't know if you're a father too, but it's like just getting around other fathers, man, and having these conversations and learning from you guys, learning perspective. That's what's going to make me a better father too. So I appreciate what you said.
No, the awareness is the key, right? And that goes back to the balance part, right? Because if you don't have awareness, again, like using the gym analogy or any like the work where my dad was in the army for 27 years. He came home, he'd finished cutting the lawn with a flashlight because that's what you did, right? You had to work, you had a role, right? And it's very defined. My mother's Japanese, so it was very defined as in male and female roles. So, but that was his role. He had to do it. So I walked into my marriage, same thing with that same expectation of kind of blindly, but just this is what I do because that's what I'm programmed to do without really thinking about what the other side thought. And that perspective was different, right? It was just, it was different. So without that awareness, you can't have that balance, which isn't going to be 50-50 because oftentimes we feel like, you know what, when I make enough money, it'll be fine because then I can cruise, there'll be food on the table, we can take all those vacations and I can relax. And the reality is, you know, this, you get down the road far enough, that time never comes on its own. You have to figure out where's that line where, okay, I'm here. Now I have to switch over to this other mode. And having that awareness that, okay, this time is short gives you that perspective. You, God forbid, you don't want to be, you don't want life to give you that awareness, right? You don't want life to make you aware. You would prefer that you figure it out on your own. A lot of times it comes down to that half-eaten birthday cake, right? There it is. Like, wow, okay. I guess I need, and honestly, I pray you get that half-eaten birthday cake sooner rather than later because we're all men and we're all A personalities. We drive, we run. Jenna is a woman to your A personality as well. I'm sure I don't want to be exclusive on that basis, but
No,
bottom
these
line,
guys
you know,
know me. I have the energy. I have the
we have the
same.
drive, and that's the thing. That's why we do what we do. That's why these things are so similar because we're drivers. We're goal oriented, right? We're gonna get that accomplished, and we think that everyone is on the same ship. You know, we're leading it, and they're right there, and they're gonna be happy when we hit land. Like, great, we're all gonna celebrate. And meanwhile, that's not the case, right? They were mad because we didn't look at the scenery along the way, or we didn't spend enough time because the waves are rocking the ship, or whatever the case may be, right? We're just like, doesn't matter. I'm burning the ships when I get there. We're moving forward, and you realize that everyone doesn't share that same perspective, and then you have to bring it back to figure out the balance because then you understand and you're able to make that adjustment. Yeah, and that's key, man. That's it's absolutely key. That's
I feel
everything.
like
What you're really
Jonathan
doing
could
it
speak
for, right?
to that in a really strong way, just based on what he's done with kind of seeing the different perspectives of the communities that he leads. You had any insight to that, Jonathan?
Um, you, you know, it's funny. I was thinking a lot about what you just asked, Bill, Jay, and for me, it's teaching people to just reclaim authorship of themselves and over themselves. Like one of the biggest things for me this year is I've been on, I was taking Adderall for about 10 years, and I've been off of it now for about 7 months. Um, I have been the type of person that absolutely loves chaos. I've been the type of person that always said, I need momentum, enjoyed validation, high sense of urgency. And the truth of the matter is, I don't need any of that to function at a high level. I don't. I believe for me to function at a high level, it is important for me to continue to learn to be steady, to learn to be calm when there's chaos, and to teach others around me that is how you deal with chaos. You're not allowed to just think that life is happiness all the time. And there's chaos in life. And when you get both of those situations that come your way, you have to learn to absorb them as they are. One should not upset you. One should not make you so, excited or happy. And you said it earlier, even with the way social media is today, and it's constantly going down a path of game theory where it just tries to trigger you all the time. That's what they're doing. You have to learn to live there. And you have to learn to be comfortable with what's coming your way, and that's the only way you're going to get through life, is that sense of emotional regulation. Going through life allowing somebody to trigger you is not, it's not real, right? That's something that you are choosing to cause an emotional reaction towards, because of something that someone else is saying. You have to learn to bypass that, and you have to learn to be steady. Trying to live in momentum and trying to live in chaos, and I need this for my energy, is it's not real. And so learning to tell myself the truth and having that real hard conversation. It's funny, there's a mirror in front of me right now, and I stared myself in the eyes a couple times, even on this. I'm in front of my laptop set up on my wife's vanity in our room right now, just because with all the people at the house. So I have the mirror here. And it's like, that's what I was just thinking about right now is like, okay, you're looking at yourself, you got a lot more work to do, and it's okay. Like, it's okay that you didn't do what, you didn't do all the things you said you were going to do. But how can I take that coming into 2026 and beyond? And also, how can I help the people around me deal with those same potential struggles that they have? I'm a father of three. I have twins that are a little older than two. And then I have a 1-year-old baby girl as well. I have boy girl twins. So it's, life is chaos, and managing multiple businesses, as you talked about, and managing the chaos that comes with some of those businesses, and dealing with news outlets and media outlets, and learning not to get upset when they're posting certain things. Gosh, if we can teach the world how to live in that space, oh my goodness, we're going to make a lot of dangerous human beings in the most impactful way possible, because now we're teaching them how to make decisions without involving so much emotion. And that really is what life's about. It's not about, it's about the discipline. And so I want to teach that to my children. I want to be that example to my kids. And I want to teach them to be steady. And I want others that see me, and I want them to look at me and have that word is, man, that guy is steady. That guy's dialed in. He understands what's going on. He's paying attention. And it's not easy, right? It's a lot, because there's still a lot more vices I have to continue to fix. There's a lot more work that I have to do. Faith being one of them is learning to get closer, learning to understand. And then the last piece of it is being okay with understanding that I'm a very conscious person, and okay that I don't always need to have change. I always thought that change needs to live in my life because I'm very conscious, and I've gone down these existential crisis of like, oh, is it really worth what I'm doing? Is it really worth it? Should I really be doing this? At the end of the day, does it really matter? It does matter. It matters for all the people around me. It matters for my kids. It matters for my wife. It matters for the people that I lead. They are looking at me every step of the way through the good, the bad, the ugly. And how do I act in every one of those moments? So that is a huge, huge focus for me right now.
I think what's great there is that they see you. The best lesson I can teach my kids, and I always said, is that you have a choice, right? There's always a choice. Life happens, things happen. You always have a choice. And the more they see me making the right choices, right? Things happen. And the more they see me making a choice, and they understand that, okay, I'm still, as you said, Jonathan, steady, even though these things are happening. And why am I steady? Because I made a choice. I made a decision, right? I said, this is good. And they, why is it good, Dad? This is happening. This was good because look at the lesson we learned, right? My youngest wrestles, my oldest does jujitsu and MMA. So, we often get into that. And it's great. The great lessons, great sports, by the way, for your kids, girl or boy. Wrestling is fantastic because there's always going to be a winner and a loser. There's always it's a one-on-one. And the lessons learned on the mat are fantastic because when they come off, it's always, hey, good. Unless they didn't do work, right? And I would say, that wasn't good. Why was that not good? You didn't work. I don't care about the outcome, but you didn't work. But either you win or you learn. What did we learn from this? Well, and that might not be the first, again, choice. That might not be the first thing you say to them. Say, hey, come here, bud. It's all right. Don't worry about it. Later, what'd you think about that match? Well, what would you learn? Well, I learned that I probably shouldn't do this and I probably should. Okay, you have a choice. It's good. Now, next time you have a different choice you can make. And that's key, man. That's a great thing you're saying, John. I mean, being that role model for them, that they look at you and say, these things are happening. Dad made a choice. Dad was on Adderall. My son's on Adderall. So my youngest, he's got a bit of a frequency, but I will say it might be because of the environment he was in. Even now, we spoke to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, the Adderall's." We said, well, I think it might be because I'm with my dad right now too. I said, "Well," I said, that's great. We'll see how it goes, but he's on a low dose. But so I understand that, right? Because the frequency, right, is high. It helps him to make the right choices. But he sees that, so you getting off the Adderall, you made a choice. You understand that there's chaos, there's noise, there's freaks. You're making choices to go through that, even with all that stimulus coming at you. You're still making choices. And you're making the choices. You're saying, I'm not a victim of this. I'm not, the life is not throwing me this way and that way, and I guess that's where I end up, right? It's no, you're making a choice, man. That's again the lessons, like I said, it all comes back to that. If I the focus, as long as I keep the focus, the main thing, keep the main thing, right? Right, and that is
Jalen
being
Hurts.
that role model. Was that?
Jalen Hurts says that.
Got it. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. When I was going to church, my pastor used to always say that. That was the main thing, right? It was Jesus at that, right? It was like keep the main things. Outside of that, then everything, everything else funnels back to that main focus, that main perspective, right? And that's the thing. What are we doing here? Keeping the main thing the main thing. So, man, that's great stuff, man. I'm sorry, I'm hijacking. I apologize, but I want to make a comment. That's what,
No, don't. Please, I embrace it. I enjoy it. And
yeah.
it's about vulnerability. I put a message earlier, like just thanking you for your vulnerability. And
Oh, I said
Bill,
thank you.
and I think that's part of Bill, what you're talking about too, about having the right people around you.
Mhm.
It's, I'm at a place in my life to where I can pick and choose who's around me. And I am smart enough to know that it really does matter. It really matters who I talk to. It really matters what they're pouring into me, what I'm pouring into them. It matters what we talk about, every ounce of it. And if I have any inclination that it's not aligned with who I'm trying to be as a human being, I just leave. And that's a big difference for me than it was even 3-4 years ago. If I'm being just frank with this group here, where now it's like I'm good. It's not aligned. And like I have rules. Even when my wife and I talk about it all the time. I travel so much, and I'm very fortunate to be on stages. Like I have very specific rules. I never have more than 2 drinks. I have a team that comes with me. They know to pull me out whenever to pull me out. Hey, nope, John, we got to go. We're leaving. And I've told them, we just walk out. We leave. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm FaceTiming my wife every night. I FaceTime my wife every morning. I check on my kids hourly. Like there are rules to this, and you have to build those parameters. You have to understand your surroundings. You have to be comfortable with who you are, and you have to know where, hey, where do my temptations lie? Because we can't pretend that temptation isn't thrown our way. I've been reading, part of where I'm reading in the Bible right now is when he goes through the wilderness and does the fasting for 40 days. Oh my goodness. And regardless of, for those that are listening in, regardless of your religious beliefs, I'm reading a lot of all the Abrahamic text I'm going through right now. So I'm just really trying to understand where they're all coming from and just understand and grasp it at its full potential. But the temptation will never go away. It will never go away. And Joe, you said it. The difference is we make the choice, man and women make the choice to say, okay, I know temptation's coming. Here's how I protect it. Here's how I protect what's coming my way. I'm not going to be naive to it. I can't say, oh, that'll never be me. We're capable of anything. Everybody's capable of anything. The world proves that to us over and over again. So how do we find a way to protect ourselves from what's going to be thrown at us? And Bill, it's what you said earlier. It's having the right people who are aligned with me. And if I got to make a call, he's, Jay and Jenna know him, Rami, he's my videographer as well, but also my best friend. Right to Rami. Yo, I'm not, hey, something's off. I got to go. We got to go. Hey, let's go. Let's go. Not even a question. Not even a, what do we mean? We're having fun. No, we got to go. All right, man, pack up, get out of there. So it's so important. That's such a big aspect that you really overlook as you go through this journey of life, because you think, I don't know, but I won't speak for the group here, but a lot of times when I was younger, I thought, oh, I can handle that. Oh, no, don't worry. I'll be fine. And no, you're not. I was not fine. It was not fine at all. So I appreciate y'all sharing all that.
Rami always answers my call too, mostly because he's scared of me. But either way,
Yeah, 100%.
he does answer
100%.
them. He does answer them every time.
It's a level of respect. That's awesome. And I shared that poem with the group in our chat.
Want to
If
read
y'all
it?
get time, yeah. I'd love to read it. The poem is called the poem is called "If" by Rudyard Kipling. And I actually, so I send emails to my kids, and this is the one I just sent to my son today. And in the email, I talked to him about, this is a choice that you have to make yourself. I'll never be able to make this decision for you, just like my dad couldn't have me make it, and just like your grandfathers can't have you make it. So if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone. And so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. So it's just been such an impactful poem. It crushes me a little bit, but that's a choice that took me a really long time to make. And I sent it to my son, hoping it helps him get to that decision faster than his dad did, and faster than my dad did. Right? That's the whole idea. So thanks for letting me share that. It's been a very special poem to my heart this year.
It's a good poem, man. So great. It reminds me of, so we look at things like Stoicism, Bushido, with the Japanese culture, samurais, chivalry. Right? I think we lost a lot of that in the world, right? This sense of honor, this sense of being strong and noble, right? Having the sense of honor and being in a place where, again, you have the strength as a man. And so you have a responsibility then to take care of those that cannot, right? I think we've just lost that. It's not, that level isn't there anymore. Like I said, my father spent 27 years in the Army. All my uncles did as well. I've been sort of surrounded by military influences. My best friend's retired Marine, police, you name it, right? And there's a certain level of service and, again, this honor that's just not, it used to permeate the air, right? People were you'd almost be ashamed to not do that, like almost ashamed, like to not stand for the flag, right? For the national anthem, right? You're almost ashamed, like I look at my kids, I'm like, if I see them moving around, I give them a look. They know it's, you're standing, you're paying attention, you're standing straight, you're staring at that top star. That's the focus. And again, wherever you stand on this, but it's just a general lack of that type of perspective, and it's palpable, and that's the problem.
I
It's
love
not
that
just
you brought that up.
information.
I deeply love. I love. This is why I love that you're bringing that up towards the conclusion of this and the conclusion of the day.
Jay, can I share a quick story on that real quick? It's to take me less than a minute.
Absolutely.
So my dad came to this country in 1979. Okay. He grew up in Syria and in Jordan. Now my parents, my dad, I don't know why, my dad was always more conservative growing up, even though we were, immigrant family. He for sure should have been more like on the liberal side with just some of the things that we got like growing up as kids and what we needed help with. But my father, when a Democrat would win, and I'd go to school, right? I was in like fourth grade, fifth grade, whatever. And I'd come home and I'd tell my dad, "Oh, Dad, you should have heard what the kids were saying about this Democrat that won." And my dad would look at me. He goes, "You never, ever, I don't care who wins, ever talk about the president of this country. Do you understand?" And I looked at him one day and I was like, "What do you mean?" He grew up in the regime of Saddam. Saddam actually went after my grandfather, his father, and tried to kill him. He thought he was a spy. And he said, "That's where I come from. So you never, ever let anybody talk about the president of this country because you have no idea what it's like." And I've never forgotten that since I was a kid. And so I appreciate you sharing that story because for a lot of people, my dad loves this country. Like my dad will never go back home. He loves this country more than it's sad to say this, but I'm going to say it. He loves this country more than people that are born here, that have lived here their whole lives, that have grew up here. My dad's love for this country is so deep, and that's just a story that I wanted to share because it's in line with what you're talking about.
No, it's fantastic. I said my mother's from Japan, but she grew up in Imperial Japan, right? She came out post-war World War II. So she grew up under that influence because my grandfather was obviously in Imperial Japan. And to your point, I often think, because of the way wars are today, if you thought about it, going back in time, every 10 to 15 years there's a major conflict, something where people were drawn in, brought in close contact with opposing or very different cultures and perspectives, and were influenced by it. I mean, where I grew up, a lot of people were half German, half black, half Korean, because of the war, the influences of where they grew up. So you had a lot of this differing perspective, but you don't see that as much. Even the kind of the mixed culture that I am and my kids are, it's now almost homogenous to be mixed. And so that, again, it doesn't matter, if you will, right? And it's great in one perspective, in one way, but like some of the other, you lose that, right? You lose that appreciation for what you came from. I mean, what my parents came from. My father's second generation. My grandfather's from Cape Verde, basically Portugal, Cape Verde Islands. And you lose that perspective, when you start becoming, when you create too soft a generation, if you will, right? You became soft times, good times breed soft men. And that's unfortunate. I think what we're seeing that right now is that there isn't that same influence. Now I know where to cut that in, force a war, right? And have them go into God. I mean, I would never want to see my children in that situation. But you also say, well, how do you do that, right? How do they gain that perspective that we had or that our parents had? And yeah, it's appreciate that story because I can appreciate that. Not to that degree. That is obviously what your father went through and grandfather. That's much more significant and severe than what my mother grew up in. But I remember her telling me stories. You had to go out to the country to farm and eat crickets, and they had to kill horses because there was no food after World War II. There just wasn't there. So she grew up in situations where it's the perspective of what we have here when you can go 20 feet anywhere and find potable water, right? Drinking water. I mean, flushing toilets. It's insane what we have and we take for granted. And other countries, I mean, it's not even, it's just, yeah, you just don't have it. So I appreciate that story.
I
Jay,
think I wanted to comment on that. I mean, I think it falls on us. You talked about a softer generation. I mean, I think it falls on us as fathers. I mean, my dad, Vietnam veteran, he was a Marine. Um, Barely talks about it. I mean, I've heard some stories. If he's had a few too, I mean, he doesn't drink much, but if he does, he might start telling a little bit more. My grandpa, World War II veteran, he passed away quite a few years ago, but ex-Marine too. Um, but I was always I always thought I'd be a Marine at some point too. My dad didn't allow it. It was during Iraq. I actually almost went, but he said, "Hell no, you're not going after what I went through in Vietnam." But my dad's raised me hard in a lot of ways, and to be respectful but there's always those things you want to really change as a father that your father didn't do, right? There's always those things that we can be better at because we learned from our dad what, we didn't like or what maybe caused us some of our problems. We all got some kind of traumas, right?
Right.
But it's like we've learned from that, and it's like I actually talked with my sister about this the other day. I'm like, now that I am a new dad, I'm going to do things this way compared to what dad used to do. And she's like, yeah, that's what I'm doing too. Like, we learned like but I'm still going to implement what my dad, did as far as making, have my son work at a young age and maybe not as hard as he made me work by lifting cement blocks and all the crap he made me do. But it's just, I think that's where the change is happening. I think the next generation is going to be completely different. I don't think they're going to be soft. I think there's a lot of people like us out there that have kids that don't want that for our kids. Our kids are, it's crazy to talk about too, because my son's 2 years old. It's like everything I'm doing, he's a sponge, man. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
they literally watch everything. Like my son wants to have football on the TV all the time because he knows I love football. I played football almost my whole life, and he's always like he calls it butt ball, but he can't say football yet. But
That's
but
great.
he's always pointing at the TV saying that, and I'm like, my wife had Miss Rachel on or whatever, and I came in the house and he's like, Dad, butt ball, and I put it on, and he's like, see, sit, and he wants me to sit next to him, man. It's like
So good.
that influence, that us being who we are and being the best versions of ourselves, man, that's what they're going to catch, and that's what's going to change that next generation, make that next generation as powerful as can be, man. I have a lot of positive for the next generation just because people like us in this room, for sure, man.
Mm,
Yeah,
really
man.
cool.
Amen to that. That's 100%. Yeah,
Jay,
it's
you were gonna say that one. You were gonna say something that earlier. I forget. I wanted to hear it. You thought whenever Jay does like one of these and he just waits for like 20 seconds, it's like gonna be really good after that.
I'm sorry, I stopped that
No, it
thought too. I
wasn't you.
saw
No, no,
him.
no,
might have
no,
been
no,
me. I apologize.
no, it
No, no,
wasn't either.
it's
It
he
was
did
me
this. He
too. It
veered
was all of
off.
us.
He veered off like this, and
No, I
then
think
all of a sudden I
yeah.
said one quick thing.
No, the power of the podcast and like what Jay does and brings, people like you guys to this room to share such impactful stories. I mean, like it wasn't on my bingo card to cry 14 times throughout this hour. And for some reason, it's just every time one of you have said something, I've gotten emotional. And I'm like, my dad wasn't in Vietnam and like I don't have a son and like but it's so powerful to kind of hear all of your perspectives to Joe's point with his word, but it's just really special, I think, and it's so cool because you guys don't know each other. And so to be able to share this openly just kind of shows your trust in Jay. And that's special to me because I'm like, wow, Jay brought these people together knowing that, or maybe not knowing, but assuming that this is going to be a good conversation because that's the power of culture and Jay and everything. And I feel like, I'm never going to forget this conversation now. And I'm so like honored to have listened to it.
That's awesome saying that. I think Jay,
Appreciate
you're
you.
right. I think what Jay does, and this goes back to Jonathan, we talked about earlier, saying is the frequency. I think we all kind of operate at a similar frequency. And when you have people that do that, you kind of in sync, you start to get in sync. And that's the power of what Jay does. He brings people with very similar frequencies. Like he didn't know necessarily my background. My father, was in Korea and Vietnam and all, and Bill. I mean, maybe he did, but I don't know that intentionally he said, "Oh, let me connect these people," or they come from different backgrounds with this type of influence. But we all have a similar frequency, right? And that because of that, and even myself, like getting away from the church, but very much, for a while, was going to a Pentecostal church, So I mean, if you want to go to church, man, that's church, man. That's it.
Another interesting frequency is that Bill builds houses.
Mhm.
Jonathon finances them. And it seems like Joe does something too within that world of finance and technology and capital markets. Jonathon's also very involved with technology too. So it's like there's, you guys complete the customer journey so to speak, in what you do
There's
as
definitely an
as a
ecosystem.
trifecta. So that's really cool too.
Um, if you guys are right with it, I'm gonna I'll send the chat stuff to you. I'll put you on an email. Maybe you get to know each other, at a later date.
Yeah, please. Okay.
Yeah, would love it.
I love that.
Thank y'all.
If you're listening to this podcast, share this. Share this
Mhm.
to whatever speaks to you. Please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast, a review. That's how we can reinvest back in you with these amazing guests. We've had to fly them in from all over the country. That's the second time I made a joke. I promise I'll retire it.
Next year we might do that.
Well, now it's on the. Oh, I did. I'll save for next time.
We
Now
don't
it's
have to fly
recorded.
in
Now we really
Delta.
have to. Um, we don't edit. So yeah, share this. Please leave us a review so we can bring more great relationships, resources, inspire reasons for you. And thank you all for coming on and spending my favorite day with Jay and helping me find him again. We'll see you all next time on the Culture Matters podcast. See you next year.
Bye,
Happy
guys.